my kako, everyone. Happy Thursday. And welcome to the last week of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders Celebration Month. My name is Moana, the founder and host of the Moana Nui podcast, also the children's book author for the Adventures of Nakoa and Nohea series, editor for the Wildcard Chronicles comic book series, publisher here at Burning Spear Comics, and champion and advocate for our Indigenous and Native communities. Tonight, I am joined by the one and only Dana Morgan.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this amazing panel. I'm so excited for this, and it's a great panel to end this beautiful month of May, but also to talk about Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander history and culture. But for those that may or may not know me, let me introduce myself. I'm Dana. I am a cosplay, event, and con staff photographer. You may have seen my photographs with MomoCon, Anime Week in Atlanta, Dragon Con, and even with DC Comics. I'm a voice actor, event planner, and a whole lot more. And with that, I am going to hand it over to my lovely co-host, the founder of the Moana Nui podcast, the lovely Moana.
You always crack me up with that. So tonight we're going to do, we have this amazing panel, but we're going to do something special tonight to close out the month. Tonight we're going to do a giveaway. And in order to be a part of that giveaway, we want you to engage. We want to engage our audience here in the conversation tonight. So when you comment use hashtag question, and you can write a comment or ask a question of our panelists. Just by doing that, you'll get entered into our giveaway tonight. So please be sure to do that as you are listening. And we always welcome engagement as we all learn here together tonight. So we have a wonderful lineup of panelists, some who have already been on the show and some who are new to our podcast stream here. So I'm happy to have all of them here tonight. As we have done with this month's panels, we have a guest moderator. And tonight we are super blessed and happy to have our cousin, Latoya Simmons, to be our moderator and host. So we will turn that over to her now to start this panel.
Yes.
Let's see.
Aloha.
Aloha, cousins.
Hey, cousins.
Yes, we'll bring our guests up now too.
Yeah, bring the panelists up. I'm so excited about tonight. One of the reasons that I'm so excited about tonight is something that I noticed in terms of some of these exciting panelists that you are going to witness is that they cover all age groups. So we have someone that works with the youth. We have someone that just graduated from a STEM program. So that sort of demographic. And then we also have a special musical artist as well. So we're hitting different age groups. We're hitting different styles because guess what? We are not a monolith. Let's just be real here. Okay, talented people on this panel, really exciting night. Thank you everybody for joining us. And as Moana said, definitely we want this to be engaging. So the panelists are going to introduce themselves and let you know a little bit about themselves. Those of you who are listening, make sure that as you're listening, you start to pull things out from the panelists that you can relate to, whether it be music or entertainment or STEM or games or just the culture period, the love of the culture period. So with that being said, definitely go ahead. We want you to engage in the chat because we do watch it, and make sure you're using the hashtag question in the chat. If you use the hashtag question and ask your question or make your statement, you, my friends watching, these wonderful, beautiful viewers of ours, could win a prize. We're doing a special giveaway. Won't tell you what it is, but definitely be engaged. So with that being said, my name is Latoya Simmons. I think on the flyer that was put out, I'm a little bit of a STEM nerd myself. I work mostly in daytime. I work mostly in infectious diseases. So every single outbreak or major national outbreak that you could think of in the past decade. I have definitely had a very strong role in that, including COVID right now. So that's my day job. That's my day job, the sciencey stuff. And then my nighttime job, I guess you could say, is I love to cosplay. And that's actually one of my favorite things to do. It's an outlet for me. And for those of you who don't know what cosplay is 2 words, costume and play, merged together to form cosplay. So I definitely go to different cons around the country and sit on panels and moderate panels as well and talk about our love for costuming and comic books and just all things nerds. So that's a little bit about me, your host, but I want you guys as the viewers to really get to know our panelists. So what I'm going to do is just quickly go around the screen. You guys can introduce yourselves. Don't get too much into the culture part yet, because we're going to save that. We're going to save that for a moment. But what I want you to do, introduce yourself. So say your names and also tell us one interesting fact about you that nobody would really know or that people would find interesting. So we're going to start with who's on my screen first. I'm just going to randomly pick somebody. Alika, you're first, sir.
Okay. I am Alika Spanaihe. Hello, everybody. Some random fact that nobody knows about me.
Yeah, something random, something cool.
Mine is like kind of dark and depressing. I was stillborn.
Oh, damn.
Yes.
Sir, we trying to keep this
Let's just start it off with that.
But you know what? But you know what's powerful? Even though you were stillborn, you are still here, sir, sharing your light. Okay, so we're gonna lift that up. So you had a purpose. Clearly, you have probably multiple purposes, and we're going to learn about some more of those later. So thank you for introducing yourself, sir. See how we turn that around? Yes, that's what we do here.
Great job. Thank you, Latoya. Thank you.
No problem, fam. I got you. All right, let's see. Who's next on my screen is Kaneliani.
Aloha, my kako. Well, I that was a really great something probably a lot of people don't know about you. I don't know how to come up with anything after that. I'm Kanoi Lenny Davis from the island of Molokai, here in Hawaii. Still here in Hawaii. Happy to be with everybody here. The one thing that people don't know about me is I don't know. I feel like everybody knows everything about me.
Well, I'm just meeting you for today. I know your red lips are popping. I learned that, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I can say I have 4 daughters. Is that significant enough?
Yeah, that's absolutely significant.
Yes, we're a house of women. So 4 daughters.
And motherhood is not easy. Yes, it is. Motherhood is not easy, honey. So you need 4 awards, 1 for each child. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, love. Okay, next on my screen is Leihua.
Aloha, Leihua Stewart here, originally from Ku'au, Maui. I'm here now in Maryland. I'm in a drive stone's throw away from Moana. One thing that folks don't know about me is I'm deathly afraid of frogs. I will die. You throw one on me, I will die. That's how you destroy it.
Sis, what did the frogs do to you, sis? What happened?
Everything. They jump on you, like they jump on you, and then you automatically slap, and it smashes on you, and so it's a little tragic. So.
Okay, that's a little dramatic. Okay, so we're gonna keep all the frogs away from you, all of them. Right? Great to meet you, love. And Kamaka, you're next on my screen.
Okay, aloha kako. My name is Kamaka Kihau. I was raised on Maui. And I guess, an interesting fact that most people are surprised outside of this group is that I am a fluent Hawaiian language speaker. Like, what? Where they do that at?
Sir, okay, I need a tutorial, okay? Just saying, I do. I need to get back in touch with my roots for real. So for those of you who don't know, I am part Hawaiian, not 100% Hawaiian, but definitely part Hawaiian. but I need some education though, sir. So that's pretty cool. That's very awesome. And actually, we're talking about history and culture tonight, so that fits in perfectly, that fun fact. Next on my screen is Alan.
Hey, my name is Alan Z. One fun fact would probably be I was offered my first record deal when I was 15. And so I was like super young starting out in the music industry. And, I just, it led me down a really dark path that, we may touch on later today. But, I'm here and I'm really glad that like all the things I've been through in the industry has brought me to where I'm at today.
That's awesome, man. And we're glad that all the things in the industry brought you to us today. So welcome, sir. And we look forward to hearing more about your industry experience, especially with you being so young and so impressionable. Like 15, that's a really impressionable age. So we want to hear more about that. And last but not least, Miss Sousa. Polly.
Aloha, my name is Visha Pauahi Souza. Most people just call me V. More recently, I have started introducing myself as Pauahi. One fun fact about me is that I'm the only person in my huge family that was not born in Hawaii. So my mom there's 7 of them, and my granny, there's 7 of them, and my dad, there's 5 of them. So with all the nieces, nephews, and everybody, I'm the only one that was not born in Hawaii.
Interesting, but here you are repping for the culture, man. Your family is huge. I love that. I love that. I always wanted a large family, so that's pretty cool. So welcome to all of our panelists, and again, welcome to all of those who are viewing. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and once again, I just want to remind you, stay active in the chat and use the hashtag question when you're asking your question or making a comment in the chat, and you could win something really, really cool and special. All right, so let's get started with the panel now. We've gotten introduced to all of our guests. I am going to start with Alika. And the reason I'm going to start with you, sir, is because I'm going to start with the youth. I heard a little birdie told me that you do some really interesting work with the youth using games to connect them to culture, which is totally, I'm into that, because to me, I call that edutainment. Right? You're educating them, but providing entertainment. And sometimes they're so entertained that they don't even know they're learning. I think that's so dope, right? So tell us a bit more about that. Tell us the name of your group and a little bit more about how it started.
Okay, so I work with Theory Crafters Games, and it's me, my business partner and very good friend Jeffrey Vieira, and our newest addition to the team, Jack Hobbs. He's actually one of our former students. He's the first student that I got the honor of teaching. And so we work at Nanakuli, predominantly out of Nanakuli High School on the west coast of Oahu, with a nonprofit organization called PALS. The director's name is Kei Fukuda. She's amazing. So what we do is we have an after-school class where we teach them game design. And yeah, so that's what.
So wait, this is not even board games. This is game design. So you teaching them a skill?
Everything. Yeah, everything. So board games, card games, digital games. We actually prefer the analog version of things because it's easier and faster to just prototype things and come up with any kind of crazy ideas and try it out immediately. You just write down stuff on a Post-it note and use it as a card. So. Yeah, we like to we love to do that, and we like to focus on the cultural aspect of it, because PALS is a place-based learning organization. So it's about connecting the students to the place that they're at, and that is how the Hawaiian culture saw education. Everything was based on where you're at. And how we see it today, it's based on everything around you. You're a part of everything around you. So you should learn everything around, because it makes you. It is who you are. So we have to be connected to our surroundings, our culture, the history behind it. And so we try to incorporate that into everything that we create. And it leaves the students with a sense of identity and belonging that is beyond just themselves. And we have a product after that. We have a game that they get to play with. So they get to play with other people. And in those games, we get to teach other people who may not be familiar with the culture about the culture through the game, through what we made.
That is absolutely incredible, sir. Thank you so much for sharing about that, because listen, now I want to learn how to play the games, because sometimes, let's be real, there's a kid in all of us. Now, whether or not we acknowledge the child in us is a different story, but even that's a good way for me even to learn. Growing up, my grandmother, and maybe we could talk about stuff like this a little bit more, but she was from the mainland, or sorry, the Big Island, and then came to the mainland because she wanted to escape her parents and go out on her own. And so she decided to marry an African-American man, and her family disowned her. And so from that, she was very embarrassed about the language. She was very embarrassed about teaching the culture. So this is like a way for me to learn. So the child in me is being fed even from you sharing this, right? So now I want to follow. Yeah, this is like, it's coming full circle. So I'd always wanted to be in touch with the culture. She would cook cultural foods. And the reason that I'm sharing that is that maybe there are some people here, whether they're that are tuning in now or that may watch this later, and maybe, you know, their grandparents or their parents didn't teach them the native language or their culture or the history. And so they've been so Americanized that sense of community that you speak of, the environment that we grew up in, we're so, it's kind of like Eurocentric or Western in thinking, like we all just think about ourselves in silo, or our families and us in silo. And this whole environment is contributing to our growth or to our demise, or a combination of both, right, to life in general. So age groups of the age group of the children that you normally target in your program, is it, you know, kindergarten? Is it high school only?
High school. Yeah, it's predominantly high school. And we're just, so next week, June 9th, so what is that, 2 weeks? We're going to be starting a summer program at the EPIC Academy in Waipio. So that's going to be 6th to 8th grade, that age range. So intermediate.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
We're going to be dipping into a little bit younger demographic and see what we can learn from them as well.
Awesome. And I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's see how much you know about your program. So the coding language, what coding language, for our nerds who are watching, like myself, who's trying to learn how to code, like what coding language do y'all use?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm the artist. So Jeffrey is the coder. He's the guy that does all the coding and the mechanics. So
Gotcha.
I draw the pictures. I take all the stuff that everybody says and I make some cool pictures out of it.
Wait a minute. So you're the artist?
Yes.
That's dope. Okay, so I'm learning and becoming more familiar. For all those artists out there, follow Alika. He might be able to give you some tricks of the trade. But thank you so much for sharing about that program. That is awesome. That's awesome. So next, I'm going to hear a little bit from Lehua, because a little birdie told me, ma'am, that you just graduated in a STEM field. Is that true?
That is true.
Congratulations. I love it. I'm hyped. Congratulations.
I know, I'm pretty old to be going to school, but I got my bachelor's in organizational management, and
awesome.
I recently got my master's degree in education, curriculum studies, STEM squared from University of Hawaii at Manoa online.
That is incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. So STEM squared is a very new concept for a lot of folks. So STEM squared is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And then we have S squared, which is social science and sense of place. So as much like what Alika was talking about, it's culture and place-based learning. So it's creating care and concern for your aina, and from that concern, from that care, you are creating solutions, to help your aina, to help the people, to help however you can. So it's all about service. So we have a summer of service camp that we're going to be launching in 2025 in an Ahupua, very close to Nanakuli. So very maika Alika that you are there right at the heart of where a lot of the action's going on. And so we're excited about launching that program, and it is all about STEM squared. So, yeah.
That is incredible. And I love how the two connect. I didn't even realize the two could connect that way, but I love again that you're integrating that community piece. I think earlier today and throughout the month, we've heard a lot about Asian solidarity and then African Americans or Blacks and their solidarity. I'm a mixture of both, right? And so me, I'm like, that's my family, right? Like it's like both sides of my family, but that's normal for me. But now there's been so much media attention put on a lot of the hate crimes that have happened against people of Asian descent, especially most recently. Of course, we know that's happened over time and throughout history, specifically in the US, but over history. And so one of the things that we've been talking about is if there's African Americans and other people of color and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders and Asians and just people of color in general in the United States, if many of us are facing some of the same challenges, how can we come together and kind of begin to form solutions? And so, Lehua, what you just mentioned right now and what Alika just mentioned in terms of teaching these kids from when they're young to be able, like, to planting seeds of community and understanding your environment and your family and everything that's around you to further define you, that's what we need to get back to. I think that is what has gotten lost over time. So it's great to see both of you engaged in that type of thinking, and not only in that type of thinking, but you're actualizing it through your programs. I think that's absolutely amazing. We need more of it. I'm so glad both of you are here. Something else that I wanted to mention, we have another person on the line, Miss V, who is also embarking on her educational journey as well. Miss V, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then also your educational journey?
So I am Hawaiian, Okinawan, Portuguese.
Uh-oh, she froze a little bit. I love the mixture though. I love where she was going with this. We will come back to V once she her situation is squared away. But kind of continuing along the path of talking about our youth and talking about community and culture and the environment that you're raised in, I really want to talk to Alan for a second. So Alan Z, if you can unmute yourself, tell us a little bit about your journey as a young person, how you grew up in the diverse environments that you grew up in, and how that led to your musical journey.
Yeah, I think like because I was moving around so much, it opened a lot of like my awareness of not just like my own community, but just being around like other people. And so like, you know, when I was growing up in Maryland, it was mainly like Black and Latino kids. So that's my first exposure into hip hop, right? And then even when I moved to Seattle, which was like a predominantly like white suburb, I brought that kind of like energy from Maryland with me. And I think like when you start stepping outside of your comfort zone and you start like making friends with people that don't look like you gain a new perspective in the world that like you may not be, like people that stick in their comfort zones may not be used to, right? So a lot of the conversation I see online is like when people make generalizations, you can kind of tell they don't have a friend of that group, because you would not say that about somebody you love. And so I think like a lot of these kind of like really like harmful generalizations and like a lot of the online commentary that's like really toxic is coming from people that have never interacted with anyone that don't look like them. So I think with me being grateful and like blessed enough to like have been in like just different communities and being accepted, like I'm looking at it like, oh, why are we even having this conversation? Because I'm like, oh, I'm fine. But I realize not everyone has lived my life, right? But because I've had lived that life, I can kind of bring insight and, you know, share my story almost as a testimonial, like, hey, like we shouldn't be like, you know, at odds with each other, you know, like let's build, let's find, you know, commonality, let's come together. So I think that's something I can do with my story to hopefully like shed light, you know.
Absolutely. And a little birdie told me, sir, that you have a new musical project. Can you tell us a little bit about that project? I'm really excited to hear about it.
Yeah, so the musical project I just dropped is with my good friend Jason Chu. It's called Face Value. It's a concept album based completely around Asian American history. And the way we tied it in is, you know, the experiences and like, you know, the things that we talk about with our identity is still tied in with today. So like we basically correlate what happened in the past what's happening today. Because a lot of the conversations that people have when it comes to Asian hate crimes is, oh, I can't believe it's happening. Where is this coming from? And it's like, if you study history, you know exactly where it comes from, because it's a pattern, like, right? Like,
Exactly.
and so I think it's important for any group to know their history, because it's a superpower for you. When people try to knock you down, but you have like ancestors that laid the foundation for you, you know what you're standing on, right? So I think for me, being able to tap into that superpower for my community, I think it was something I wanted to share with the world, you know, so that people can be more educated and be more aware.
Ellen, I absolutely love the concept of your album. I mean, so much respect for you, because again, I'm going to use that term edutainment, where people are being educated at the same time that they're being entertained. So I don't know, Lika and Lehua, you may have to, in your programs, you may have to go ahead and, you know, play a little Alan Z real quick, okay? Support our fam here.
Definitely, I'll be bumping some of that music.
Yeah. Alan, if you can put in the chat, like, where we can find your music and what the album's called. I think you said Face Value. Is that it?
Face Value.
I love it.
It's on all platforms, so Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon Music. I can drop you know, like a link for you guys in chat.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah, definitely. You can put it in the comments, so we can make sure that those who are watching can, you know, get a sample of your music and get some education at the same time. Because that's more, I think that's what a lot of times when we see ourselves going through individual situations, and when we see a culture, oh, shout out to Alan Z, you got some love in the chat. And when we see as a culture, or as a larger community, as a nation, that we're also going through COVID, all the violence that we've seen towards African Americans, people of Asian descent, and Native Americans, and so on and so forth, it's like, you know, everybody kind of starts getting a little bit introspective, right? And what better time to educate people when we're sort of collectively at this vulnerable state, right? And not only that, but like, you know, music is so soothing, and music can be therapy, right? So Alan, thank you so much for what you're doing in the music industry. Knowing that you came up as a young person, 15 years old, entering the game, and you're still at it, and you're still doing your thing and walking in your truth. Like, you mentioned the term superpower earlier, and I love it. And you absolutely are a superhero. I think everybody on this panel absolutely is. I'm a little biased because I love superheroes. That's why I cosplay. But Alan, thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the culture. I mean, there's so much value in that. It's deep, man. So appreciate it. V, we're going to get back to you, man, because we want to hear about what you're doing for the culture. I know we got cut off for a second, but tell us a little bit more about your background, and then also your educational experience.
So I don't know what everybody heard. Okay, so I don't know what everybody heard, but I was saying that I'm Hawaiian, Okinawan, Portuguese. I'm very proud, Kanaka, very, very proud. So what I'm doing for the culture is I worked in the psychiatric hospital for 16 years, and then I went to seminary. So religion and psych has always been something that I've been interested in. When I was in seminary, I had the opportunity to work with a marriage and family therapist as an advisor, an African-American woman that has been like my rock even now. And so what we did was we compiled a research project for me to enter or submit to a PhD program. And my work is focused around race, gender, sexuality, and social justice. And so what I did was I took cultural historical trauma, a term that has been coined by Native American Maria Braveheart Yellowhorse, and I read everything about what she was saying, and I kind of was like, okay, I understand that there is a need to want to take a theory and project it onto cultures that are oceanic populations. And so I was like, that's not what we're going to do here. First Nations people have similar stories. We don't have similar feelings. You know, everything is not the same, although it comes out that way when we are educated about it. And so what I did with trauma, my professor said to me, she said, Visha, she said, does your ancestors know what trauma is? And I had
That's
to like,
powerful. That's
I was
powerful.
so fascinated when she said that. I was so fascinated when she said that. And I was like, you know what? I went back and looked, and there's nothing, right? So what Western society would coin on as what trauma is not something that Native Hawaiians or Kanaka would consider trauma. And so my work is wholly focused on the Kanaka perspective of what trauma like and how it's passed down through the generations. And so my theory that I'm going to develop, I start PhD school in September in Canada. And the theory I'm going to develop is geared towards oceanic populations and how institutions of white supremacy have harmed oceanic populations. And so I'm going to come from it's going to be strictly oceanic perspective and nothing else.
I think that is so powerful, sis. I got to give you a round of applause. I don't know about everybody else, but we applaud you, ma'am, also for continuing to take the torch of our ancestors and not only to dive into the history, but to create information based on your education that other people will be able to pull from. I mean, that's awesome. The fact that you're talking about trauma too. Trauma is real. And I don't care what culture you're from, you have dealt with some part of it, especially if it has anything to do with the United States as we know it today. Maybe not historic United States, but more present day, right? And so it'll be really interesting to see what your research results in, because I don't know that I've even read a lot of publications that talked about oceanic trauma or those from the oceanic population, their trauma, because it's real. It's a real thing. And I think we've heard a lot about African Americans and slavery, right? We've heard a little about Native Americans and even them being enslaved and in the Trail of Tears and the abuse, right? But it's going to be really refreshing to have that another group very represented in academia. So thank you so much for what you're doing and your tenacity to keep going. I mean, that's so impressive. We'll all have to stay in touch with you in Canada. Good thing we have platforms like this, because we want to keep up with this. Maybe your information will be able to share with Alika, with Lehua, and also with Alan for his music. You know what I'm saying? Like connecting those dots and keeping the community moving forward as a collective. All right, we got 2 more people on our panel to tell a little bit more about themselves. Kamaka, let's learn some stuff about you. We learned a fun fact that you speak Native Hawaiian, which I think is so dope. But tell us a little bit more about your journey and your connection to the culture.
First of all, Latoya, I just love your energy. You are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, you know, it is a fun fact because there was definitely a time in Hawaii where Hawaiian language and the generations, you know, they weren't allowed to speak Olelo Hawaii. So to have been adopted from all the way from Little Rock, Arkansas, and then brought.
Oh, wait, you from Arkansas, sir? Not Arkansas.
You know, yes, ma'am. Not really, but yeah, you know. But so to be brought to Hawaii and just embraced and loved by my ohana has just taught me so much to be respectful and to keep these cultures alive. And through that, I then found, you know, my passion of music, and I wanted to, you know, kind of build the bridge there. And then just taking it around the world. And I love what Alan shared, you know, as far as, you know, your outer image, you know, honoring the culture, of course, is great. But people tend to put you in that box, and, you know, they don't know what to, because they don't know what to expect of you, right? So they're just going to go according to your race or, you know, whatever. So that's kind of what I've been doing in my music, is actually really connecting myself as well with the African American side, because all I've learned, I become a product of my environment, right? So all I know is Hawaiian language, and through this language, it has built a i'ini, if you will, a desire for me to connect myself more to the African American and try and collaborate and honor and uplift the culture, but also to just show that, you know, you don't have to be one way to do one thing. Just
absolutely.
But I don't know if you guys can see this, but just speak about connection with maybe like that. Boom. You see this?
Oh, yep. We can see it.
Yeah,
We
this
can
is
see
a
it.
drawing of Alika right here. Okay. This is what he did. Yeah, in honor of African, I think it was like African
Oh,
American,
it's beautiful.
right? Making me feel like Martin Luther King in that picture.
Okay,
Hello.
Martin Luther King. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Where can we find that somewhere? Is it online?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram and Kamaka's Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get to
You are a
liking
king.
and
You are a
following.
king, Kamaka.
It's true. I agree. And Kamaka, tell us a little bit more specifically about your music. Are you just doing sort of native, more traditional music? Are you merging traditional with sort of modern or only modern? We know Alan is definitely into the hip hop scene. What about you?
Well, I do have a passion for all different styles, from neo soul to a little reggae, and even in Hawaii, we have that island reggae vibe going on.
Yeah.
But we know where that comes from. Okay, let's just take it
Let's
back
be real. Let's
to
be
the
real.
motherland. Okay.
Absolutely.
I do have some compositions that I'm working on that really speaks to our time, what we're going through, and balance. Understanding to understand, and it's for myself as well, the importance of balance in your life. For us, when we talk about Ku and Hina, the masculine and feminine, and a lot of my work being a traditional Hawaiian falsetto singer, you have that Ku and Hina going on in there as well. So I have to kind of link with Po Mahina and have some kuka about collaborating there. But I really, just love sharing the story, which originates from my mother, and God bless her soul. She did so much for her community and for her ohana. So here I am.
That's awesome. Thank you for continuing to carry the torch too, from your mother and from your family, and also doing so through music, through the beauty and the power of music. I mean, even if people don't understand the language that a certain song is sung in, everybody understands music. Like everybody, even little ones, they respond to it, right? And so what better way to definitely keep the tradition going, to shine your light, live out your purpose, and then keep that music going. That's awesome. So we've got one more person here on the panel, but for those of you who are watching, I hope that you continue to stay engaged. If you have any questions for those that we're saving the best for last on this panel, but if you have any questions about any of the panelists, if you feel connected to them or connected to what they're doing, whether it's music or art or coding or teaching or being in a STEM environment or research, or just the culture period, go ahead and put those comments in the chat using the hashtag question. So with that being said, we're going to introduce the queen here with her red lips. I'm loving the red lips, like for real. Yes, boo, yes. Queen, can you introduce yourself, please?
Aloha mai kako. Kanoi lani. Not a queen. We like to think of ourselves as goddesses, but that's a whole nother thing.
All right, goddess. We can do that. Speak that. Tell us a little bit about your connection to the culture and what you're doing that's really interesting and cool.
It's so funny. It's like that feeling of having to pull whatever it is that you do out as if it is something cool or even interesting is interesting to me.
Oh, well, we will think that it's interesting. It's new to us. So just share away. We're interested in hearing about what you bring to the table. We're excited to hear about it, actually.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I am a granddaughter and a daughter. I was raised by my grandparents. Hanai.
Awesome.
Young child. Yeah. So a lot of the work that I do today is based off of that foundation, one generation above my parents. And what was once a burden and felt like I was lost is now something I prize and treasure. And I will always prize and treasure for the rest of my life. Having to have skipped a generation has really helped me see a lot more things today in this modern generation and a modern time, I should say. And so raised by my grandparents, I am Hawaiian, Chinese, Filipino by descent. I was raised in a Hawaiian home and Chinese home. So my background is we come from practitioners on the Chinese and both on the Chinese and Hawaiian side, healers and martial artists and hula.
I love it. I love it.
So I incorporate a lot of my foundation into everything I do. So what do? I have a business. It's called Pomahina Designs. I also have a halal. Right now, I say I have a halal. I've been on sabbatical for like a couple years now, trying to get Pomahina Designs on it. My core students are like, when are we meeting? So honestly, it started with them as a foundation and my children, my 4 daughters, to retain the memories and the names of old when we talk about elements. Because as we know, the rains, there are many rains. The clouds, there are many clouds. And so
absolutely.
We lost a lot of the names throughout time. And so Pomahina was meant to create design. I'm a graphic designer by
artist.
By schooling. And so but I also knew how to do natural dyes, and I knew how to do oheka pala through hula. And so we taught that to my students. And Pomahina Designs has grown because it was meant for halal, but it ended up being something that we recognized was meant for the world. And
that's powerful. That is so powerful.
Yeah. And the interesting part is some of the names reference a lot of family genealogy that they forgot, or maybe grandson went, oh, my papa talked about that. I remember that name. I think that's a family name. And then they'll come and I say, okay, here's the element. This element came out of this valley. Here's the families to this valley. Because I will do research. And I will check and make sure that I'm doing it as honoring as best as I can.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, here, take this. This is all I have. But these are going to be your little nuggets that will help you get to something bigger. Aside from that, I do work with University of Hawaii in the Department of Psychiatry, where culture is health. We're moving into... been with this program for about 9 years. It's called Puni Keola, regarding substance abuse for teens to early adulthood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just basically going into self-identity, right? Alika, trying to go back. We're not focusing on substance abuse, right? Pauahi, we're focusing on who are you in this world?
Yes.
So we focus
to the roots.
Yeah, correct. So we focus on their identity, because the idea is not to make perfect people in the world. The idea is to make have a space where they have the skill sets to use whenever they're put into a really hard situation. The idea is not to avoid situations. The idea is to get out of those situations quicker than most.
Yes,
so recovery of whatever it is. And so I get the privilege of working with these young kids who I learn things from every day. And if there's one thing I share with them is, don't forget what you just said, because you will fall on it when you get older.
It's true.
Lost it. So I have that privilege of working with these kids. I'm blessed to be in their space. By all means, they keep me grounded. They remind me. And they invoke a lot of good memories of who I was, the innocence, of that time, as well as the challenges. So we never forget. What else do I do? Oh, I have Mana Bomb's podcast. We do so with that, and a nonprofit called Ho'aka Mana, which is to strike with intention. And it's
I love it.
And that one is mainly for single Indigenous parents who just need help with the emotional parts, recovering from, this traumatic experience, help and assistance for their children, how to get ahead, or just how to gather themselves back.
Oh, wow. That's such a needed resource.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you were sitting here like, I don't really know what to tell everybody. And here you are, a goddess in her own right, literally, and you're doing so much for the culture and so much for the community. You're extremely multifaceted. I think it's beautiful. I think it's powerful. What you're doing is sort of connecting all the dots of all the people on the panel today, which is not just addressing the situation on its surface, but getting to the root of the problem, reaching out to our youth and helping them discover who they are. Because when you know who you are and you can see yourself a bit more clearly, you literally see the world a bit more clearly. Right. And then when you have confidence in the education that you're getting, knowing that you're going towards your purpose and you're living out the legacy of your ancestors and your family, there's power and there's validation in that. And I think a lot of young people, especially young people of color, are looking for that, right? Because the history has been either taken from them or conveniently not shared with them. Right? Conveniently omitted from textbooks or rewritten in textbooks to where we are not perceived in a positive light. Right? And so everything that you're doing, helping people find out about their genealogy, like you are the bridge to the ancestors. In terms of what you were saying, you tell people, okay, where are you from? What's your last name? That mineral grew over here or over there. It could be harvested over north from here. The fact that you're able to do that and to have that healer's mentality and that warrior spirit too, I think that's so powerful. And it really does embody everybody literally on this panel. So the next question that I have for you guys, we only have a few more minutes left. So thank you all for telling about yourselves. Those of you in the chat, thank you for the love that you've been showing. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them right in there, #question. But the question I have for the panelists, and anyone can answer this, is I know a lot of us have talked about our roots, where we grew up as children, how we got to where we are today as adults, right? But everything starts in childhood. A lot of that foundation, right? The ideas that we have today, the work that we're doing today. So with that being said, based on the work that you are currently doing and the information that you're able to pull, whether it's from patients, whether it's from your audience that you're entertaining, or children or young people that you're influencing and educating, how much hope do you have for our youth, for this next generation, that they'll be able to sort of be different than the last generation and carry on the torch, carry on the culture, the language, the music, the history? How much hope do you have for that? I know with social media, there's so many distractions and things that we're competing for the young people's attention and even for adults' attention, right? So what are your thoughts on that? I know it's a very broad question, but anybody can start to answer.
Oh yeah, I have tremendous hope for the youth in the future.
Awesome.
They're
awesome.
just because I get to work with them a lot. Like I see so much energy and so much fire, and there's a lot of kids that I talk to, like next to Nanakuli is Waianae, and I got to travel to Flint, Michigan with some students from Waianae High School. And
nice.
We went there to go to a place-based education conference. And man, like I started calling those like there's two teenage boys that I was talking to most of the time. I started calling them uncle because they was teaching me stuff.
Oh wow.
Right? they know so much stuff, and it's just because they live the culture every single day, and it's coming back. So I have a lot of hope for them.
Awesome. I love hearing that positivity. Lehua, I'm going to ask you next, based on the programs that you've been involved in academically, and then what also you've been doing for your career. Do you see diversity changing for our students to where it's embraced more? And do you see hope?
Oh, absolutely. There's hope. We are such a Native Hawaiians or Kanaka Maoli. We're very vibrant people. We're so amazing, and much like what Kanoilani and Alika was saying, and as well as Kamakakehau, they don't realize who they are until they find out and learn more. So it's all about Ike, it's all about knowledge, it's all about changing that and making them more confident about who they are, so that they can compete in STEM, careers and STEM spaces and be more confident about it. So it's all about education. It's all about folks like all of us on the panel to help move that along and support that, because our youth is our future. And I
Absolutely.
have lots of hope for our future, because the Olelo Hawaii movement is up and running. It's so beautiful to go back home to Hawaii and hear Olelo Hawaii everywhere you go, every space.
Nice.
So I'm very confident and very, hopeful for the future. So mahalo.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Alan, I'm going to come to you next if you're able to hear us. I know you're having internet connectivity issues, but I'd like you to answer that question, but from a musical perspective. I know you just released Face Value, but from some of your other albums that you've released and some of the other musical experiences that you have, do you see hope for our future, for our youth, those who we're trying to impart knowledge on, those who we're trying to influence, from the hip hop side of things, but also honoring AANPI culture and history as well?
I think there is, because I think there's finally like a place for knowledge even within entertainment. Like you mentioned edutainment. I don't think it was cool to be smart 10 years ago when I was growing up. You know what I mean?
Nope, it sure wasn't.
I remember on BET, like Lil Brother couldn't get their music video played because the owner at the time said it was too smart. Like that was what we were dealing with before.
That's ridiculous.
We started discovering, hey, we wanted to listen to this. And I think even with Face Value, like this album that me and Jason dropped, like we felt like the timing was necessary right now, because 10 years ago or 5 years ago, people just didn't care. Like, just people wanted to stay ignorant because it was fun, right? Like people always said, you can't think and twerk at the same time. But there's a time and place for everything, right? So I think like right now people are hungry for discovering themselves way more than before. And I don't know, I can't predict the future, but I do think that we can shape the future and we can, make the world that we want to see.
I love it. I love it. Now, for the last three panelists, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and have a different question for you. Before I ask that, I want to give a shout out to Dave in the chat. He said, it's interesting that there are such commonality and former colonized people all around the world. And I agree with you. There really is there are a lot of differences that we have, right? But there is so much that we have in common, especially here in the United States. Personally, I believe if we could address things from an intersectionality standpoint, that collectively we can move together forward and have a lot more success, especially in gearing up our young people for the next generation, for them to take the torch. Dave also mentioned we have to instill confidence, pride, and security. Absolutely. And you instill that confidence, pride, and security when you know yourself, right? When you know who you are, where your roots are, your identity is solid, right? In terms of your family and your history. When that is solid, when you can go back through your roots and see that there's kind of an extra air that you have about yourself. You can walk with a little swag, like you said, what to me? Oh, whatever, because I know where my ancestors came from. Thank you. Like, you know what I mean? So with that being said, I'm going to pose the next question to our last three panelists. Kunoalani, I'm going to start with you first. In terms of, educating this next generation and educating ourselves, because there's even people our age and older who have disconnected from the culture. I mentioned earlier, my grandmother did. She was so embarrassed of the culture, and even marrying an African-American man, her family disowned her because her father said, if you marry a Black man, you will not be part of this family anymore, right? And it's not just, Hawaiian culture or Pacific Islander culture that's like that. There are other cultures that are like that as well, right? So my question to you is, in terms of the future and in terms of what knowledge can we teach, like in 2 seconds, what's something, one or two things that you would want our viewers to know about the AANPI community? Something powerful.
Well, I think Dave had kind of shared something in the comments, right? Instill confidence, instill security, do no harm, know who you are, stick to your roots. And don't forget, there's never a bad time, or it's never too late to really dive into who you are, even if it's your genealogy. And like you said earlier, I can stand strong because I got 400,000 behind me.
Yes. I love that. Kamaka, what are your thoughts on that in terms of for the people watching, those watching, what are some values or some things that you'd like the viewers to take away about the AANPI community?
Awesome. Well, we always look to the past to guide the future. And so one of the things that, or the people that comes to reference is a woman by the name of Pilahi Paki. And I often share this because she made known the meaning and definition of aloha, one of the other meanings of aloha, which became an acronym. And the A standing for akahai, which is to be kind. The L is lokahi, unity. The O is olu olu, which is to be pleasant. The H is ha'aha'a, which is humility. And the final A is aho nui, which is patience. And so within the journey that you're going on, as you're trying to find yourself, you want to locate these traits so that you can ku ha'aheo, you can stand proud of who you are and where you come from, and then holomoa, and move forward in life. Mahalo.
I love that. I actually now want a piece of art that displays aloha and all the meanings of each letter. And now I'm like getting all creative and stuff. Okay, Alika, I might have to come to you for a piece of art, sir. All right, V, your thoughts on what we could take away from the culture, or what we could, some lessons learned, whether it be from the elders, from your educational studies. What are some things that you want our viewers to take away from this talk tonight?
I would just mimic what Kanoilani and Kamakakehau said, but I kind of want to in Western thinking, they say, well, don't worry about the past. The past is not the future. And kind of what Kamaka said, for Pacific Islanders, we kind of have to go back to the past so that we can reshape the future. Because if we don't know the past, we're living in colonialistic measures. So all we're doing is perpetuating colonialism. So we have to go back to the past so that we can reshape what our future looks like. And so what does that look like? It looks like pride. It looks like security. It looks like aloha, and so just remembering or relearning what that past did and taking back the past and teaching ourselves and those around us, whether it be our ohana or our allies or our friends, and just making sure that when we educate others that we know what we're talking about so that it doesn't come off wrong and that we're not miseducating other people as well.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a great takeaway message, making sure we're true to history so that we can be true to ourselves, true to our ancestors, and true to whatever spirits are in the future, right? So with that being said, we are at 9:31. This panel went super fast. I was like ready to say, okay, come on, have story time. But you all are incredible human beings. You're making an incredible mark in history, each one of you. Thank you all so much for being on our panel. And as we wrap up, before I hand the mic back over to Moana and to Dana, I just want to go around the screen one more time because I want the viewers to be able to follow you. And if people, view this later, I want them to be able to reach out to you. So whether it's on social media or there's some websites that you want us to follow. So I'm going to go around the screen, and as I call your name, let us know how we can follow you, how we can stay in touch with you. And then after you share that, please put that information in the chat so that our viewers can actually stay connected. So I'll just go with who's first on my screen. Alika, you are first on my screen. So let us know how we can follow you, how we can stay in touch.
Okay, so you can follow me under my name, Alika Spanaihe, on Facebook. And on Instagram, I am hauoli_art_Alika. I'll drop that in the chat. And my website is hauoliart.com.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And Moana's putting it in the chat for us, so thank you, ma'am. Lisa has a comment, and she said, mahalo to the panel and all of your work, presence, and inspiration. So thank you, Lisa, for that awesome positivity. Next on my screen is Alan. Alan, how can we follow you, sir?
Yeah, you guys can follow me everywhere at Alan Z Music, ALANZ Music, and all my music is on all the platforms. You can do that by searching Alan Z, ALAN, last initial Z, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Tidal.
Nice. Thank you, sir. Definitely looking forward to hearing your new album, Face Value. Let's see. Kanoilani, how can we follow you, love?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate being here. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Pomahina Designs and our website, pomahinadesigns.com, as well as Instagram, Monabombs LLC.
Thank you. Looking forward to following you. I want to see some of your designs. I'm excited. Lehua, you're next, love. How can we follow you?
First of all, mahalo nui loa. Beautiful time spent with everyone. Follow us on AANHCC.org. That's our website. Again, it's AANHCC.org. And then we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. Support us on Amazon and as well as YouTube. So mahalo nui.
Thank you. Next is V. How can we follow you?
Also extending mahalo to the panel and to Moana and to you, to Latoya. You can follow me at my name on Twitter and Facebook at Pauahi Souza. My Twitter is a lot more, I let more people follow me on Twitter. I'm a little bit more private on Facebook, so you can still friend me. I may or may not accept you. And I am the www.thepolynesianresistor.com.
All right, Polynesian Resistor that may or may not follow us back. I'm not even mad, sis. You got to keep your circle tight. Thank you, love. Thank you, love. And last is Kamaka. How can we follow you, sir?
So kamakakehau.com would be my website. And then the Instagram is kkf_music. And mahalo to all of you. It's so nice to see you. I can't wait to be in your presence soon. All of you on the panel. Mahalo nui.
I know. I agree with you. I would love to meet everybody in person once everything is a little bit safer. Thank you all for what you brought to the panel, for what you're doing for the culture and the community. I think this is a wonderful way to end the night. Dave says, great sitting here and hearing all the excellent things you are all doing for your community and your research, your programs, and your activities. Big respect. Keep up the good work. So thank you, Dave. Dave's been going in the comments, and we appreciate you. He said, I need to learn some Native Hawaiian words now. Sir, me too. I think Kamaka got us. I think he has us. But thank you, panelists, for all the wisdom that you brought, everything that you've shared about your respective programs, your talent, your light that you're bringing. We'll be following all of you guys, extending mahalo to all of you. And with that being said, I'm going to turn the mic back over to the founders of this wonderful podcast, Moana and Dana. And hopefully they'll tell us who the winners are or who the winner is for the comments for using the hashtag question.
Awesome. Okay, we're back. I was over here laughing because Kamaka does like teach Hawaiian. You need to check out his Simon Ka'imi Na'awao yeah, he like entertained me throughout the pandemic, and he just does it in such a way that you're learning, it's humor, it's edutainment, it's all those good things. Yes. So mahalo nui to all of you and Latoya for hosting, and to all of our listeners. So real quick, we're gonna test this out now. Don't get mad at me if it doesn't work properly.
First time doing it now.
Okay, yeah, first time.
And hopefully it doesn't like choose us as the winner. So if it does, we're gonna keep going until it's not our name.
Thank you. Thank you. That would be
so
nice.
Okay, drum roll. See how this works.
Listen, why is it picking us, y'all?
Keep winning it.
Moana, really?
Congrats, Moana. Right.
Really? It's rigged. This is rigged.
So here's the thing. I'm seeing that Dave is the only name that is not ours, so Dave is going to be our winner. Yay!
Congrats, Dave!
Congratulations, Dave.
Oh my gosh.
And
I
thank
love
you
it.
for all your comments too. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, Dave, please send us a note to Moana Nui podcast at gmail.com. So with your mailing address so we can get your gift out to you. Thank you so much.
Wait, what does he win? What does he win? Can we know?
So he's gonna win a Mana bundle. He'll get the our Moana Nui exclusive, the USB with all of our season 1 episodes, and then we'll also send him a copy of The Adventures of Nakoa and Nohea, and our comic, The Wildcard Chronicles, along with some art prints that we've done over the years, some exclusives that are not even available anymore. So mahalo for being a part of our show, and we hope you enjoy it. It's our little way of sharing our culture. So thank you so much.
Dave, like you are getting so much stuff. Oh my gosh. That's wonderful.
Listen,
I should have put a comment in it.
Commenting.
I should have put a comment up in there so I could get it back too.
You should have.
I know. Dang it, Dave. Dave, I'm gonna hit you up and see, you know what I'm saying, if we could share a little bit, you know. But congratulations, and Lisa says congratulations to you too, Dave. Thank you, Lisa, for participating as well. You guys are awesome.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We won't hold you guys any longer. We want to respect everybody's time, but mahalo to our viewers and our listeners in the live or in the replay. Be sure to follow us on Twitch and on YouTube. Live streaming every Thursday at 7 and 8:30 p.m. And then you can also catch our podcasts on all podcast streaming platforms, releasing on Tuesdays. So mahalo nui. Mahalo to this wonderful community that we are building here. And Dana, any last words?
Once again, we thank everybody for joining us. We're going to go back to our regular schedule, as Moana was saying. So tune in on June 3rd, which will be every Thursday at 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. We have 8:30 p.m. is when we'll have our live podcast. So definitely tune in on June 3rd. And if you miss any of our content from this month, definitely go to join us on Twitch or on YouTube and watch some of our past episodes and panels that we had this month, so you can continue getting some of this great knowledge that was shared today.
Yes. Alrighty, guys. With that said, mahalo, malama pono, ahui ho.
Yo.